Hey guys, this is Corey Shields on the Selling North Georgia podcast. On this episode, I sat down with Michael Gunter and Jason Mathis, the owners of Battlegrounds Games Comics. We talked about how they got started, what they've got going on now. They're really super passionate about what they're doing, so I hope you enjoy the discussion. Works surprisingly well to be so tiny. Mm-hmm. It was freezing in here like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, little one you have at the store works really well too.
Yeah. If you put it beside your leg, man, it'll burn you up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep one in there. Like, my desk has a little shelf here, and like 5 minutes later, my knee's on fire. Yeah. Everything else kind of cold. Got a warm knee though.
Yeah.
So you started off in the mall, right?
Well, initially we started off in the flea market.
Oh. Okay.
You know, this was something that we did on the weekends as kind of like a side hobby. You know, we would kind of go out to like pawn shops and flea markets, and we started acquiring a bunch of stuff, you know, and at a certain point, you're no longer necessarily buying for your own collection. You're just acquiring things. Like, how many PlayStation 2s do you need? The 17th Nintendo, you know.
That's some Borders stuff going on there at that point, right?
Yeah, so well, we said we got to start doing something with all this, and we went to the Big D's Flea Market, and there was a woman that had been there for years and years and years and selling video games. Mm-hmm. We just happened to be in there, and she had this copy of DuckTales 2 on Nintendo, which is like, it's a pretty hard game to find, and I'm a big DuckTales fan. So I asked her, you know, how much do you want for that? And was it like $500 or something? Something like that. And then we got to talking, and the woman was like, well, my husband recently retired. I would sell all of this for $5,000. And we're like, okay, that game's $500. So
start running the numbers.
I was like, man, I think this is a really good deal. And she said, oh, we've got this storage building. It's got a ton of stuff in it. So, you know, naturally, when anybody says storage building, you just think, oh, yeah. You know, this is going to be nuts. Mm-hmm. And then we ended up buying it, and that just kind of spawned like, okay, now we took over her spot. We upgraded everything, made it look a lot nicer, you know, flea market nice. Yeah. And it started going really, really well.
And about when was that? Like, how long ago?
Was it 2012?
It had to be before. Well, maybe
2011.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Everything happened pretty quick. We had such success to where, so naturally when you work the flea market, it's open Saturday, Sunday. Mm-hmm. Well, you have a job that's Monday through Friday, and then you go do Saturday, Sunday. Well, then you're back to your Monday to Friday, then you're doing Saturday, Sunday. It's never ending.
Right.
So I told Jason, I said, man, this is, I was at a point where I had just started my career at the hospital, and I was like, if this is going to happen, we got to do it now, because I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
And then, so we made this decision, and we went and talked to the mall, Walnut Square, at that time. And the mall manager was like super cool and really accepting to us. And like, yeah, come on, there was this game store that left all their stuff, and it's just sitting there. And if you rent it, you can have it all. Now, they didn't have merchandise, but it was all their fixtures and the stuff at that time that we had no idea how to get.
Fixtures, like, you mean like
display cases you know, kiosks.
So it's like you walked into two like coincidental but awesome situations at once.
And that's why I've always said that our success has had, to me, it's not just by coincidence. It's meant to be almost, because it's really, the things that have happened have almost just been like something you see in a movie. Mm-hmm. If, you know, and in the sense of this business being successful, and in a time where not a lot, you know, 10, 11 years ago, not a lot of new businesses were opening, you know.
Yeah. So you guys been together throughout the whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah, we started it, and I mean, if you can go further back, where we started with like a box of cards and started trading that. You know, you'd trade up. So say you take a $100 card and you trade it for a $125 card. But you just do that over and over and over. And eventually you have such a huge collection of cards that we just sold it and started this business essentially.
Yeah. Right. We just needed that upfront capital, so we sold that, and that gave us the money to, you know, actually paying real bills.
Yeah. So we, just to kind of follow the timeline here, we got the flea market scenario. Mm-hmm. You weren't planning on doing any of this prior to the flea market, right?
No, I mean, you go from just two guys that are just going out We started watching a YouTube channel called The Game Chasers.
Yeah.
And this is just kind of similar. Two guys, they hit up all these flea markets, thrift stores, and they're just buying this stuff. And then whatever they buy, it shows you like, this is what we paid, this is what it's worth.
Yeah.
And it was just this like, wow, I want to go do what they're doing.
We can do that.
Yeah.
Like, did you already have that knowledge that early on, like the values of things and what you could get for them?
Well, I mean, thankfully the cell phones were at a point where we could look it up on the go. Okay. It would have been much harder 30 years ago to do this.
Sure. Yeah.
But you could walk into a thrift store and find a copy of Mario 64 and it's there for $1.
Yeah.
And it's worth $20. I'm like, okay, well, I'll give $1 for that. Now you're up $19.
Yeah.
And you talk about what Jason's talking about, like trading that. You trade this $20 thing now for a $25 thing, and you're up $24. Compound that over 10 years, and we've done really well. And something else that's kind of fits into that too good to be true scenario. The first time after we watched that show, I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to start going to pawn shops and flea markets and thrift stores. The first thrift store I walk into, as soon as I walk through the door, this guy comes out of the back pushing this grocery cart full of Super Nintendo games. And that like never happens, right? Like I've done it a million times since. It never happens.
The universe was really wanting you to do
this.
Yeah.
But the first time, and he walks out, and it's every game you possibly could want. Like all the money games.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this is easy. It hasn't happened since. But, that was the kickstart to the addiction to like, okay. So
whenever you guys got to the mall, how long were you there? And then you transitioned to where you're at now?
Yeah.
I'm there for what, two and a half years? Something
I think 2 years. Maybe a little bit less than that. I don't know. Everything just happened quick. The growth, we needed more space.
Yeah.
We started with this, what was that, 700 square feet
Maybe, yeah.
Really small. Mm-hmm. I think now it's like Boost Mobile in the mall. So you think of a little phone store.
Yeah.
And then we said, well, we need more space. So then we moved into where CVS Pharmacy used to be, which is massive, right? So you go from 700 square foot to 6,000 square foot. Crazy. And we filled it, And then the mall kind of had some changes going on internally, and they wanted to rent that space out to a big box company, and we can't afford to pay that to compete with those guys. So we moved out, and maybe that was a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, we're next to Zaxby's now, so that seems to everybody gets to see us that goes through Zaxby's, and Zaxby's is so popular that a ton of people get to see us now.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely can't hurt. So somebody like me, like I'm not heavy into the collecting and games or whatever. You guys are selling like older stuff, right? Like this is strictly collectibles, retro, that type of thing?
Well, I mean, we have expanded from what we first started doing. This business it's just one giant snowball that has just rolled and rolled into us branching out almost into all the things that we've ever liked. So you've got this Michael Jordan behind me right here. Now we've got a little bit of like retro basketball cards in there because, we love this stuff. And that's the beauty of that business is we're allowed to just kind of, let's give it a shot and see, throw it at the wall, see if it sticks.
Yeah.
What I like to tell people is we just surround ourselves with the stuff that we loved growing up. And, apparently a lot of other people love the same stuff. So you come in and it's just an overwhelming amount of cool stuff everywhere.
Yeah. So you guys do like events or like games or something like that within the store itself? So I saw on the website, it looked like, who was it that you had like an autograph signing or something like that?
Yeah, no, we're trying to get him to start doing that. But if you're talking about like in-person events where people come play the games, that's something that over time, like when we first started, that was our bread and butter. But that was also 10 years ago. That was 10 years before COVID, and so much has changed in that space. So we're still hosting events, but nowhere in like what we were. Okay. We still have an event space that can seat 60 players at any given time, and that's open to the public, and it's got a free to play arcade in it now. So if you're not into sitting at tables, you can get up and play Mortal Kombat or something.
Right.
But we still, and then the signing events you were talking about, we're trying to bring in celebrities that do autograph signings and stuff like that.
Okay. So I imagine like when I think about all the stuff that you have going on, is it like a community sort of feel, like Cheers, for example? You go and you see the same faces and everything. Is that at all what it's like, or?
Oh yeah, there is. At least we have a lot of people that travel through, but for the most part, yeah, it's you know everybody's name that comes in because they come weekly.
Yeah.
All right, so you're in this much bigger space now than you were at the mall, of course. You guys trying to expand from where you're at, or are you like at a comfortable spot?
We're probably expanding, like our sales avenues. So recently we got into Whatnot, and I don't know if you've ever heard of that or not, but
I don't know.
it's like eBay on crack. Like you can sell stuff every 30 seconds. As opposed to eBay, you may list something and it sits there for 2 years and it finally sells, and then where is it? Because it's been moved a few times, and but now you're just selling stuff every 30 seconds. It's amazing.
Is it designed for rapid sales like that?
Yeah,
or are you
yeah.
just saying it's so popular that
It's
people like
well, you can set your time limit. You can do like 10 seconds if you wanted to do that.
Wow.
But it's an auction style thing. So, somebody bids something and it's at down to 5 seconds, it'll increase that timer by 10 seconds. So give somebody else a chance to bid if they want to stay in.
And most recently during COVID, Pokemon cards got so wildly popular.
Yeah, I've noticed that in more recent times, like out of nowhere. to
Yeah,
me,
and Whatnot spawned from Pokemon getting so popular.
Okay.
The two guys that created the company wanted something that they could go and it's almost like Twitch, but for selling stuff. So you're gonna learn Jason as the personality selling you this stuff. Or on eBay, you're just a store that you don't know who's shipping it to you. You don't know the person anything about it other than the name of the company you're buying it from and their feedback.
Yeah.
But with Whatnot, there's so much more of a closer relationship with the buyer and the seller. And I think that's why it's been so
Isn't that kind of
successful.
how NFTs are a little bit? Isn't there a close tie? I'm not an expert on NFTs, but between the NFT itself and the person who is putting it out initially? Or am I totally way
Well,
off with
sure.
it?
Initially, probably, yeah.
But I think those are, it's that whole space. Who even knows what it is really?
It's a mess to me. I cannot figure it out.
Yeah, you can sell NFTs on Whatnot. I don't know how you do it. I don't know. NFTs are just a weird thing.
Carl was telling me too, you guys, not just games, like sports memorabilia too?
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
Yeah. Well, as we've started to dabble into the sports, the cards, and it's certainly something like autographed football helmets and baseballs and basketballs, that kind of stuff. If it's something that we think, if it's a UGA player, Georgia Tech, Tennessee, something that's kind of because the thing about sports is it's very regional. If we were to load up the store with San Diego Padres stuff, that would be bizarre and it wouldn't sell very well.
Yeah.
But if we're in San Diego, that would be like, hey, all right.
Right.
So here we kind of have to think about that. Unless it's somebody like Michael Jordan that's just crazy popular and doesn't even matter where he's from.
Talking about Dalton specifically, what do you think makes this such a good area for, what you guys are doing?
Well, I don't think there was a place really like us before we started. Not as big and as engrossing as what we do. You had smaller shops that were more specified. Like you have another shop downtown that's pretty much only comics. But we just took all this stuff, basically nerd culture, wrapped it up in a little store and said, here, come get it,
Yeah.
It's everything you want. If you're into anything nerdy, we probably got you covered.
So you guys promote, is it generally word of mouth, or do you do any kind of heavy marketing?
Well, we always kind of had a Facebook presence, and then as the 10 years has went on, Twitter and Instagram's gotten more popular.
Sure.
Now, TikTok, advertising on TikTok's a thing, So we're having to adapt and not trying to be the old men that are still stuck on Facebook. So,
but I would imagine too, though, just the nature of what you're doing is such a niche thing. Like word of mouth has got to be the
targeting your audience
thing.
is really important. If I threw a newspaper ad, who's that really hitting when we're sitting here
Not who you
selling,
Probably not our target audience.
Exactly.
Right.
So the way we spend our advertising dollars is very important.
Well, what do you guys have going on? Like if you're projecting the next year or two, where do you see things going?
Well, growth online is limitless. It's the infinite landscape of the internet. So
It's really how much work do you want to put in at that point?
I think how that store sits right now, I think it is internally, it is beautiful. It looks great. It's a destination experience now. If you are driving through Dalton and you're into this kind of stuff, and we're all over YouTube and again, Facebook and whatnot. So you probably have heard of us. And if you stop and come in, it's worth checking out just from for the same reason you would stop at a landmark.
Yeah.
Not saying that we're landmark level,
Sure.
but it's really a unique store to go into, simply because of the variety we have and the just hard work and tears that all of our employees have put in to make that store look like it does.
Are you still like bouncing around to flea markets and stuff like that, getting all this stuff?
No, not these days.
Those days are over?
No.
Yeah, I think as we've grown up a little bit more, it's a little bit harder to get away on the weekends and be up there at the flea market before the sun's up.
I gotcha.
Now, I mean, we're in a good place. People know about us. They bring us a lot. We do buy, sell, trade with the public.
Okay.
That helps. And because of that, we've had some, awesome stuff brought into the store that, would have been even hard to find at a yard sale, you know, so. Is
there where's the division between retro video game and modern video game today?
That's a sliding scale, really, because
Yeah.
when we first started, Xbox 360 was the new system.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have called original Xbox retro, but now you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm looking over at Carl.
Yeah.
But Carl, didn't you say that, was it Xbox original that you were collecting a minute ago? So, to me, that's still, why would you collect that? But when I think about it, oh, yeah, that was 2001 that came out.
Yeah.
Those games are still good. I mean, there's reasons to collect them. Just because it's got old graphics, and that doesn't mean it's not a great game to play and still go back and play. And there's a lot of games that I never even played before that are phenomenal games.
Well, really, the comic books, there's this collectible aspect to them. They all come in sequence 1, 2, 3 different volumes. Well, video games, if you grew up playing Mario 1, Mario 2, you're going to have those fond memories the same way that 60 years ago, a guy would have had those fond memories reading Avengers for the first time.
Right.
So we're seeing people that want to collect video games the same way they're wanting to collect comic books. And, I don't see that ever stopping unless everything goes digital, and I think that's just a bad idea in general. Mm-hmm. So,
why do you think it's a bad idea?
It's good. It's a good green thing for the environment, but there's something about holding something and having that sense of ownership, especially when you're a kid, when you probably don't have. Adults, we take for granted the fact we can just go out and buy what we want when we want. When you're a kid, your mom takes you to the toy store and buys you a Leonardo action figure. Now all of a sudden Leonardo's your favorite Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
And you take that with you through life and may pass that down to your kids. But if you never had that possession and you just maybe watched it, you might not have that same attachment.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way about music. The way it's all streaming now versus.
Absolutely.
And I can remember being 10 years old going to, was it the sound shop in the mall?
Yep.
And that same experience, even though I was only going to get one CD that maybe had 10 songs, and you could listen to anything anywhere now, but just going in there, flipping through everything, picking it up, look at the art, that whole experience, like you said, I don't think that could be replicated any other way.
For example, when you talk about music, I really got into No Doubt when I was 12, 13 years old. And I bought all their bootlegs and all their albums. I sold all my stuff at a yard sale, got that money together, and went to Skydog Records down, which a lot of people probably don't even remember.
No, that's where I got my first CD, yes.
But I bought everything, and I listened to every song on those albums.
Yeah.
And now, all I hear is the single. I don't have a clue what other song Taylor Swift has put out, because the only thing I hear is the single on repeat over and over and over.
I don't think her fans even know, honestly.
Exactly. So that can't be good for the music industry.
Yeah.
Because now you're breeding a culture we'll make a hit, and we're going to sell that hit on iTunes a million times, and everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's just purely on volume.
It's better. If you ask me, because that incentivizes you to make every song a hit.
Sure.
So you can sell every song or full albums as opposed to just one or two songs on an album.
But what's funny is a lot of the No Doubt songs that I love the most are the ones that nobody's ever heard of.
That's like me with Dave Matthews. When we went to that concert, I knew a lot of those songs, and you didn't. You knew probably a couple of them.
I only knew the hits.
And I loved that whole set was amazing.
Yeah.
So anyway, got on to music there, but same concept for sure, I think. Anyway, just to kind of wrap this thing up, we've been going at it a while. I guess my question for you is, I know a lot of people got to be driving by and seeing games, comics, but maybe can you speak on what is a misconception that somebody might have before stepping in? Like, because you talk about, it's kind of a spectacle almost. What might they be surprised by when they go in?
So games and comics is very simplified, right? That the idea was like, if you're looking for games and comics, just pull in here, right? But like, if you think of like Disney, right? You've got this big castle. It's amazing from the distance. There's some awesome stuff and when you go to Disney World.
Right.
But like just the word Disney, you'd be like, I don't know nothing about that. But like if Disney said awesome rides, awesome characters, tons of cool stuff, food, you can't fit all that on the outside. So the outside of our building looks really just basic.
Yeah.
But once you go in, it's like opening the Ark of the Covenant. It's crazy what's in there. So,
and this typical stereotypical comic shop doesn't have a good reputation. I don't think it's kind of just beat down, not really kept up, not clean. That's how it used to be. Mm-hmm. That's not what we are. We keep it clean, keep it looking nice all the time.
Bright colors, lots of light.
And you said, as of now, yes or no plans to have a second location?
We don't know. That has been thrown around so much, but there really, we have a second location, and it's our online presence. And we sell Amazon and eBay and TCG Player. There's all these different platforms we sell on, and those really are stores because people have to manage those inventories. They have to ship those orders. Maybe one day a second store, but
it's a lot rather than one. Yeah.
Awesome. So remind everybody, what's the address? Where can we find you?
2708 Airport Road, Suite 1, here in Dalton, Georgia.
Awesome. And if people want to contact you guys directly, how might they do that?
Just give us a phone call, 706-259-9704. You can email us at thebattlegroundsgames@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all those you can send us messages through.
Check us out on Whatnot. Those are fun shows.
Yeah. There's a lot of ways to get in touch with us.
Yeah.
And we're always buying collections, so if you're not into purchasing this stuff yourself, we can come to you and appraise what you got and be happy to make you an offer or at least give you a value on what you have. Because a lot of people don't realize how much the collectibles market has grown over the last 10 years.
Yeah. So are you guys willing to go out and look at the collection?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Well, awesome. Michael, Jason, thank you guys so much for coming in. Really enjoyed it.